Okay, I think I'm going to try this again real quick. Maybe. A headache and technical difficulties. Oh boy. You kind of back up and put this up on my personal website. And I'm sorry, this isn't quite as good a shot as the other one. But I want to talk a little bit about boundaries. And it's interesting because a lot of people these days don't seem to have them. We live in a very interconnected world. We all have our smartphones, text, email, messaging apps, Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, I don't even know. And it's really easy to feel like we're supposed to be working every minute of the day. And actually, that's not very good for us. There we go. I think that's going to look a little bit better. It's actually not very good for us to be constantly on. And by that, I mean we need breaks. We need to have a good work-life balance. We need to be able to not be at work. We need that time to rejuvenate and to grow and to do things to take care of ourselves. And I need to talk kind of fast because I did this video once before. I have a headache coming on, and they can kind of knock me out. So I did this video once before, and then I went to go review it, and the echoing was so bad. I'm hoping it's not echoing this time, but I need to get this done and take some pain pills and go to bed, basically. Thank goodness for ibuprofen. I don't know what I did before then. So we live in this super duper ridiculously interconnected world, right? We all have smartphones, we have emails, we have texting, we have, what else do we have? We have Facebook, we're always on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Kik, WhatsApp. There's just so many different ways that we are expected to be connected all the time. And as a business owner, it is very, very difficult to try to be on every minute of the day. Now, I happen to be a single mom. I have 2 kids left at home, both teenagers, and they both still need my attention. Today was the first day of school, so they still need my attention. They need me to be there when they leave for school. They need me to be there when they come home from school, when they go out with friends, when they come back. They need me to be there at the crossroads. The heck. And so it's really not like I can just, not just for their sanity, but for my own. I have obligations. I have a very large family. I'm the oldest of 8 kids, for those of you who don't know. And so I have family obligations. I have nieces and nephews that I want to spoil. I have kids I need to take care of. And even if I didn't have any of those things, I have me, and I have obligations to myself. Now, I'm working on some things to improve myself. I'm working on rituals of transformation over the next 108 days. And I'm working on designing a life that I really want to live. I can't do that if I'm on call 24 hours a day. That's really why I went into accounting and not like medicine. I don't want that kind of lifestyle. Now, the reason I don't want that lifestyle, this is the important part, because I am a better accountant. I'm better able to take care of my clients and their needs if I am not bombarded 24 hours a day. If I do set those boundaries and say, okay, I am available from 9 to 6 or 9 to 5. Sometimes it's 6. I usually say it's 5, but if I get something a little bit late, I will usually let it slide. But 6 o'clock is my hard deadline. I'm done at 6. And then I get to cook dinner. I get to be with my kids. I get to rest. I get to cope with headaches. I get to clean my house. I get to do the things that I need to do to, one, have a fulfilling life, and also to make sure that I am in the headspace to be able to take better care of my clients. So it's not selfishness that causes me to want to set strong boundaries. It has nothing to do with selfishness. It is because I cannot give if I have nothing left to give. I had a client once, and again, I try to be very, very careful and very, very general about how I talk about my clients, because I don't want them to come back and go, oh my gosh, you were so mean to me or about me or whatever. Don't want any of that. I really like my clients. But I had one once that just didn't seem to understand the whole concept of boundaries. He would email late at night. Now, granted, there were some time zone issues going on. He would email late at night and expect an immediate response. And if I didn't respond exactly the way he wanted me to respond, there were times that he got kind of profane in his communications, and to the point that my business partner at the time finally fired the guy and said, we don't want to do business with you anymore because of the way you treat our girls. And ironically, he was one that I was trying really hard. I was working really hard to improve my communication skills with him. Not so much that he was really difficult to communicate with, but I wanted to make sure, for myself, that I was being clear and polite and professional and everything that I needed to be in my communications with him. Because I wanted the guy to give me references, and I wanted him to have a good experience. I don't know if he did or not, but I do know the ending did not go well. So the way that I kind of set boundaries with him would be to, kind of remind him that these are my office hours. And, if you're in Hawaii and it's not convenient for you, I'm sorry, but office hours 9 to 6 Mountain Time, because I'm in Utah, and he has family here. I mean, that's how he got to know us. So he knew how to deal with the time zone. It really wasn't like he was in Europe. If he was in Europe, I might be more, in fact, I would be. If I was dealing with a European company, or I was dealing with someone who is physically in Europe, I would be more flexible, but I would insist on an appointment. That, and we would have to, I would just insist on an appointment, because I don't want to be sitting by the phone hoping that a client will call. I don't want to be trying to count ahead 8 hours. I just think it would be easier to just set an appointment, and that way we all know. But this guy would call, text, and email late at night and early mornings. And part of that was due to his work schedule. We understood that. But he would email at 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I would respond to him the next day during office hours. Oddly enough, he never quite got the hint. And I would, very frequently tell him, these are the hours I'm in the office. Now, I work from home. He doesn't really necessarily need to know that. I have a love-hate relationship with working from home. For the most part, I love it because I have my nest made here. But if I'm in an office where I have all of my stuff, my desk, my computer, not trying to, work on a laptop or anything, then I like that too. For the same thing, it gives me boundaries. Then I can actually say, I'm not in the office. But I kept telling him, I'm not in the office, I'm not available. These are the times that I am available, and I will answer you when I'm available. And I would always, if he texted me or reached out to me late at night, I would respond to him the next day. Sometimes it would be that same day, but I would not send the email till office hours. The reason for that was to teach him that you don't get to run all over me. And also because he would be fairly abusive from time to time. He was interesting. He would go from being really nice and really sweet and thanks for all your hard work, to language that I don't want to repeat on my show. So we would kind of flip-flop back and forth. It's like all of a sudden he'd get frustrated and he'd get testy and he'd be difficult to work with, and then we would work through it and he'd be great again. But one of the important things I really had to learn with him was how to set boundaries. And not only that, how to tell him in a very, very nice way, you don't know what you're talking about, let me do it. He had QuickBooks Online, which would have been great. It would have been awesome to work with him with QuickBooks Online. But because he traveled the country as part of his job, and he would need to put invoices in. The problem was that all of his invoices were messed up. So we were trying to fix his invoices, fix his receivables, fix his payables. This was turning into like a 2 or 3 person job. The only way we could do it was actually to do it in QuickBooks Desktop. In the meantime, he's using QuickBooks Online to do his invoicing. Great, grand, wonderful. So I would log in every week when I did his books, and I would pull it in the new invoices and send him his reports. And the challenge was he would change those invoices from week to week. So then he would get mad at me because I didn't have all of the 100% correct invoices, and I would just kind of laugh and go, you changed them since I looked at them last. And that's fine. I'll change them again, but you've changed them since I looked at them. It wasn't really a problem. I wasn't really mad. It was, and I really do deal in reality. I don't deal in anything else. So he was challenging to work with. So it was always a challenge to put those boundaries in place. And it was a lot of, if you can't use professional language with me, then maybe you don't need a bookkeeper. And it wasn't, I tried to never be mean to him. He would be nasty to me, and I would try to never be mean back. But I had to put those boundaries in place because I'm highly invested in my work. I absolutely love what I do. If I didn't love it, I couldn't have done it all these years. So I would be very invested, and every time he would criticize me, I'd take it personally. And I know I'm not supposed to do that, but I always do. So I would take it hard, and then I would have to go back and I would have to pause, reread his email, pull out what he was really trying to say, and then answer him. And at the same time, be saying, one of my boundaries is you do not get to use language with me that you need your mouth washed out for. That this is a professional environment, and you are to use professional language. I don't use those words. To be fair, I don't use those words at all. My kids laugh and say, if they ever hear me swear, they know to run because I am really angry. There are so many, there's 500,000 words in the English language. I can tell you exactly what I'm going to tell you, and I speak 3 other languages. So I can tell you exactly what I want to tell you and never use a curse word. And if I want to use one, I could even use one in French or German or Spanish. But I can say what I want to say. And I really don't think that in a business environment, that's one of my boundaries. In a business environment, you do not use 4-letter words, foul language. You can be angry with me. That's fine. I would understand why. But it needs to be with a purpose. It needs to be with an explanation. In other words, you don't get to just call me up and say, oh, you messed up my books. Well, number 1, you don't get to call me names. And number 2, define messed up. Because I have had clients tell me that I did a terrible job on their books because I was actually obeying the law. One of them was someone that he wanted me to file his taxes for him. This is back when I did taxes. File his taxes for him, married, filing jointly when he wasn't married. And that was one of the things I asked. Are you married, legally married, as of the end of the year? And he said, no. Well, I can't file for you as if you're married. Utah does not recognize common law marriages. Rightly or wrongly, it's not my job to say. And he got angry and said that I messed up his books. The problem with that particular term, by the way, is that could be anything. So I try to be, one, I'm not critical of other bookkeepers. I try to look and see what exactly the problem is. If I need to be critical of a bookkeeper, then I want to sit down with my client and say, okay, I looked at your books and I did notice that there was a lot of things that were miscategories. For example, she put a lot of your printing expenses under advertising. And while I can understand that, her mindset behind that, why, I can understand why she did that, but I don't do it that way. I can kind of sit down and explain why, rather than just get angry. And the reason is, just getting angry doesn't do anyone any good. So that was one of my boundaries, was one, you don't get to call me names. And two, if you're going to tell me I messed up your books, you need to explain to me what exactly that means. Because the odds are pretty good that I didn't. So, and then another boundary, again, is the office hours things. I'm in the office from 9 to 5, 5 days a week. Anything that needs to be done can be done in that time. If there is an emergency, and there should never be an emergency in accounting, I may be in the office late working on client work, but that does not mean that clients get to expect immediate answers from me after office hours. I do try to set very clear expectations of, if you contact me after hours, I will respond to you the next day, or the next business day. So if you contact me late on Friday, I won't answer you until Monday. If you, on the other hand, if you call me and you text me and you Facebook message me, and the odds are pretty good that I'm going to go, yeah, this person's too much trouble to work with, and I will choose out of working with them. I think a lot of people forget that the choice to work with a client goes both ways. The choice to work with a strategic partner goes both ways. If I have a strategic partner that concerns me, and it could be anything from a CPA who wants to poach my clients to another company representative that is inappropriately affectionate, to just someone that just makes me feel unsafe. And one of those things is, if you're sending me a whole bunch of texts and a whole bunch of emails and you're asking me to do something that maybe I'm not sure I want to do, that may be the tipping point. What really brought up the idea of boundaries, though, was, oh, good, my headache's getting a little bit better, was the idea of, I had a young man that I met with him for a business meeting. He wanted to be a strategic partner, which is great. I need all the strategic partners I can get. And then as soon as we talked for about 45 minutes, and then he started texting me. And the texting was more of along the lines of, I have felt this instant attraction, this instant connection with you. And I thought, this is not right. And he kind of was asking, about my husband. And I was like, well, that's inappropriate. Sorry. I don't have one, but whether I do or not is not any of his business. And it just, alarm bells started going off. And he's really been pushing me to abandon another strategic partner and work with him because he says he's got all these referrals for me. And I'm really concerned for a lot of reasons. So that's one of the ways that I really do set boundaries. I have actually had this happen one other time, and the guy was attractive enough and pleasant enough and close enough to my age, by the way. This other guy is, I have kids older than him. Uh, he's that young. Um, it has happened once before, but I felt the attraction too. So I stayed friends with the guy. We've had our ups and downs, and oddly enough, we are still friends and do business together, and have a really great relationship 10 years later. But that's the only time I've known for that to happen. And I think that was a one of a kind thing. Now I just tell everyone that I'm in a committed relationship, whether I am or not. So that's one of the things that really is a boundary that, if you're a man and you were working with single women, be very aware that the workforce, I hate to say it's a scary place. It's really not. I love working, and I love what I do. But I'm also very well aware of the fact that I'm vulnerable when in personal relationships. So I'm very, very careful about who I get in a relationship with, of any kind. So for this very young man, inappropriately young man, to immediately start doing these inappropriate texting, really, really, really raised red flags with me. Like I said, I've allowed it once before, because the guy was movie star handsome. And it has worked out really well. That particular one has worked out really well. But this guy, the new one, does not have that charm. And so all he's done is set off red flags. So kind of makes me wonder why he's got all of these referrals. Maybe he's scared all women off. And then he's half my age. So there's that too, where I'm looking at this going, dude, I have kids older than you. And I don't even know if I'm making sense about this, but it really kind of scared me off. And so I am now in the process of trying to figure out, do I even want to do business with someone that obviously has no boundaries, who has no sense of, this is a business relationship. This is not a personal relationship. And I don't want it to be a personal relationship. And that's non-negotiable. So yeah, that's kind of what set off the boundaries thing, by the way. I am going to call it good for the night. This is the second video I've done tonight because the first one didn't come out. Hopefully this one's not echoing. I can't ever have sound on where I can hear it, because if I do, it will echo, and it sounds really awful if I let that happen. So I can only go by the little green gauges on the sides. Yeah, I'm going to call it good for tonight. Y'all have a wonderful evening. I will look forward to talking to you tomorrow, maybe without a headache. Have a great evening.